Hello, my name is Susan Weatherford. I live in Clawson, Michigan. I am a certified secondary Spanish and English teacher. However, all of my teaching experience has been in the Spanish classroom. So I have taught in two different environments. I was in a high school, all-girls Catholic high school for 6 years, and now I'm teaching in a kindergarten through 8th school and teaching every single grade. So something about my position that's a little interesting is I am a shared time teacher, which means that I'm employed by a public school. However, I teach in that private school environment. So everything that goes into me being a public school employee, I still have to do. All my evaluations, all my paperwork, everything I submit is all according to the public school guidelines and requirements. However, my experience in the classroom is not in a public school environment. So I sort of get to I have two perspectives then, which is kind of cool. Something I really am impressed by in this new school is the resources we actually can offer students with special needs. I did not expect that for being such a small school, that we would be able to accommodate so many different learning needs, and also some that are pretty significant. I would have never expected us to be able to do that. So that's really been amazing for me. Another thing that's really impressed me is the obvious commitment to student achievement. Our administration is extremely involved in making sure that all of our students are doing well. And because it's so small, it's actually really nice because we can work with every individual student. Of course, you want your averages to be high and with certain benchmarks. And when you have a small school, it's a lot harder to get your averages that high. And it's pretty amazing to see the effort that goes into and the dedication that goes into helping each individual student achieve higher than they were before. So that has been a really amazing thing for me to witness. And also for me to be able to participate in, just because of the collaboration that goes on between the teachers. So because I went from a high school to a kindergarten through 8th grade teaching situation, I thought it was most appropriate for me to focus on the CAEP standard 4.2, which is to effectively apply the professional knowledge and skills to P through 12 teaching. Because in addition to having experience in K through 12, I also go into our preschools just once a week for a few minutes to teach them Spanish. So we have a preschool, a 3-year-old preschool, a 4-year-old preschool, and a young 5s program. So I really have a lot of different ages. So because I don't have that training for the elementary school, I really have been just relying on my professional knowledge. And so the first artifact I chose for this standard was my website, my final project, which is right here, that I designed for the ct898, which is Differentiated Curriculum and Instruction. So in this class, we learned all about how everyone learns differently, different learning styles, and also techniques that you can use to present information differently and sort of give students different perspectives and also different experiences with the information that they're learning. So this course has probably been one of the most necessary courses for me, something that I certainly benefited the most from. And I think partially that has to do with the fact that these techniques I could essentially implement immediately. And that really made a difference for me because I still didn't really know or understand how to teach these younger kids. So on my website, I incorporated a bunch of different strategies. And the strategies I talked about were the think dots or spinners, multiple intelligences, chalk talk, complex instruction, curriculum compacting, learning menus, and choice boards. And I actually have implemented a lot of those strategies. So just a couple to look at. There's one I actually did the other day to review for our test, and this one was a Think 10 activity. And for this activity, I did a couple different intelligences, but different options. So all of these escuchars that you can see here, those are all listening activities. The escribir would be writing activities. The grammar is sort of applying grammatical skills, so it would be like writing the sentence or filling in the blanks or conjugating the verb. I have a singing activity right here, and I also have a speaking activity. And so the speaking activity was actually optional to do with a partner if you wanted as well. So I think that these activities did address the needs of my students. I think I did the appropriate point value for each, and my students were actually able to get all of their activities done in the class period to get 10 points. So that was really great. And then some other ones I did. This was a good intro to the class, just as a review after summer. This was a Think Dots where I used a die. And so the students would roll, and depending on what they rolled, they would have a different activity for that. And something I've noticed a lot anytime I use a game with dice is that the students just seem more engaged because, yes, there's something tactile about it, but also just the fact that it's sort of unknown, there's still a chance. So even though it might mean they have to write a sentence, there's something about the uncertainty of it that is exciting, I suppose. The last example I'm going to show is a choice board. I know it's on the side, so I'm sorry about that. But this, again, was appropriate for my 5th grade when we were just starting out, where we were just kind of reviewing. I actually probably could have done this younger, but I did this last year, my first year, so I was still trying to figure out kind of where the students were at since I didn't teach them the year before. So I have the color by numbers, short conversations, reading descriptions, and so here were some of the activities they could choose from. Obviously, the speaking or the listening is not going to be on the sheet of paper, but we have some matching based on situational matching. I have some look at the picture, what are they probably saying, fill in the calendar, and then you have a writing scenario. So these 3 activities are just exact activities that I've used in my classroom, among others. But as I said before, this class and this artifact are hands down what got me through my first year of teaching. And I think just in general, it was really beneficial to my students to have the opportunity to learn in these different areas, especially with me sort of kind of doing my best as it was. So that was really great. Now, my second artifact that I used was actually my final paper. It was my final paper from CNT 709, which was Foundations of Curriculum and Instruction. And reading back through this paper was very interesting for me. And I say that because I started off the course with a very interesting view of curriculum where it was very similar to Franklin Bobbitt. So it was a pretty standard view of curriculum where transmission of knowledge, and it made me feel sort of bad because I was already 6 years into teaching, and that was when I was starting this program. And so unfortunately, I think I probably sold a lot of my students short, just as far as the new sort of pedagogy and 21st century type learning that we're trying to implement. So as time went on, through the course, I started talking about Dewey, how it becomes more teacher facilitated. And I think with those differentiated strategies that also kind of demonstrates teacher facilitation, I've noticed that just even having a student talk it out, which we've been doing a lot recently, they're sort of having those light bulb moments come on. So understanding more about project-based learning, I have actually done a project like that. It is really interesting to take a step back and just see how much I have grown, but also like how effective I have been based on what my students are figuring out and the connections that they're making. Something we had to talk about our curriculum issue in this paper as well, and I talked about technology and education, and I'm a big advocate for technology and education, but I do understand the importance of blending it in rather than just using it as a replacement. I do frequently use technology in my classroom for different reasons. A lot of times it is for review, but the fact that it is online and I can use Google Classroom and links, the sharing, the collaboration, and the fact that people can access it from anywhere has made a huge difference. Working at a private school, your students can come from anywhere. They're not in one district, so sometimes group projects can be pretty difficult if they don't live close to each other. So technology has afforded them the opportunity to do group projects a lot easier. then sort of finding a ride to get somewhere because, again, they can't drive. They're young kids. Other things that I address in this and that I learned from this course are definitely the power of engagement. I talked about how in the differentiated strategies, just the fact that something is tactile can help, but really making connections between students and the material. It is difficult for me to teach students who do not see the value in Spanish because everybody speaks English. So that is sort of a battle I go through every year with a certain class. And so I started doing a Kahoot, actually, a survey, and it was just to sort of see the relevance of Spanish or Hispanic culture in their everyday life. So, for example, a question just said, there is a Latin American restaurant in my neighborhood, or I know somebody who also speaks Spanish, or very simple, casual questions like that, just to make it more relevant to them. And actually, for my 6th grade, since it's the first year that I have them every single day, I had them do a project which was, why is bilingualism important? Or what are the benefits of it? And I think that changed a lot of perspectives too, because it made it relevant to their life. So this paper is sort of as a whole, I'm talking about sort of my growth and sort of how I view education right now, or excuse me, how I view teaching right now. I definitely think I'm a stronger teacher, and I do think that the professional knowledge that I've acquired both through ct803 and from the ct709 have made an extreme difference in the kind of teacher I am, and I have really had to pull on all of that knowledge teaching these kindergarten through 8th graders. There is such a change between every single grade, and it has been very challenging, very eye-opening, and very satisfying as well. I feel that I've been a much stronger teacher this year, and that I really am able to connect with my students at their different cognitive levels, as well as at their different behavior levels. And I really do think that it has made me much more effective just in general. And I'm sure my high school students would have loved all of this as well. But I am very, very proud of where I am right now. So the next steps, I think, for me in my professional career, I actually would like to go into professional development. I do like teaching, but I feel like now I know so many more things that I would so much rather help all the students I could by training different teachers than just helping the kids in my own classroom. So that's absolutely where I see myself going. I definitely think that I have a better understanding and also a base in all of the different pedagogy that's out there, as well as just sort of the foundations for it, and as well as sort of what students will need to be able to do in the future when they graduate. I think that I am very well prepared now to advance in my career, and again, just be a strong advocate both for 21st century learning and also just the fact that all students can achieve. Thank you.